What is up, guys? Welcome to episode number 169 of Beef's Beef. Uh, got a few things to talk to you about today. Like I mentioned on Facebook, this is the first time I've done a solo episode in a while. But you know what? I'm up for the challenge. I've tried to get you guys a couple of interviews to be able to post, but for some reason, wires have gotten crossed or just can't get them set in stone. But we'll get them sooner or later. Either that or we'll just move on to new ones. But either way, I wanted to bring you guys an episode because I haven't done one in a month or so, and I can't just keep going without doing an episode because I want to keep this thing going as long as I can. But before I get into what I want to talk about, I gotta talk about my sponsors. First sponsor, Crystal Lackey at Stockton Mortgage. Hit Crystal up for all your home loan needs, your refinancing needs, anything that goes with the home buying process. Hit up my friend Crystal. You can get in touch with Crystal at 502-615-0743. Again, it's Crystal Lackey, Stockton Mortgage, 502-615-0743. Uh, Stockton Mortgage is an equal housing lender. MLS number 8259. Crystal Lackey, MLS number 1735979. My next sponsor is Delium Clothing. Delium's pronounced Delium, Bdelliom. You can find them on Facebook, Delium Clothing, on Instagram at Delium Clothing. Delium is men's and women minimalistic brand that focuses on modern aesthetic and quality. Everything comes pre-shrunk. You can find his men's line at Him's Gentleman Boutique in downtown New Albany. Go check out his stuff there. He's actually making the shirts that some of you guys ordered. They should be ready here within the next few days. And my last one is Mike and Cheese. Mike and Cheese is the best mac in town. I have no problem saying that. Free delivery to Louisville and Southern Indiana with the $15 minimum. Call them at 502-548-6845 and make sure you try the Beef's Beef Pizza Mac and tell them that I sent you. Again, Mike and Cheese, Delium, and Crystal Lackey at Stockton Mortgage. So a lot of stuff has happened since the last time that we've spoken. Louisville's gotten a few things that I'm not really going to talk about. The Dino Gaudio stuff that's been covered everywhere ad nauseum. But I am going to talk about some Louisville basketball. Louisville basketball schedule has been released. It was released last week. They opened the season with a couple of exhibition games. One against Kentucky State and the other one against I can't even remember who the other one is. But they opened the season October 29th against Kentucky State at home. From the Dino Gaudio stuff, scandal, whatever you want to call it, Chris Mack has been suspended for the first 6 games. They will open the regular season against Furman November 9th. And like I mentioned, Chris Mack will miss the first 6 games, which will cover 2 games in the Bahamas against Mississippi State and either the likes of Maryland or Richmond. Just depends on who wins and all that stuff. His first game back will actually be on the road, and what you would say arguably one of our biggest tests in the early season on the road, East Lansing against Michigan State. I don't like that the changes because of what COVID did to the season last year, with the SEC football conference saying that, they're only going to play in conference teams last year. That offsets the home schedule for basketball and football, where normally you would have both of them at the same place in the same year. So, this year it would technically both be in Rupp, but football is at Kroger Field, and football is in Cardinal Stadium and basketball is in Rupp Arena, where, like I said, normally they would both be in the same place the same year. But, it's give and take. I'm glad that we got to get the basketball game in last year, whereas we didn't get to get the football game in last year. So it also weirds the schedule up because you have the game on a Wednesday again. The last time the game was on a Wednesday, Louisville did win. That was the game where Louisville played in the Yum Center. Quinn Snyder dropped Bam Adebayo to his knees on that crossover, and they beat a decent Kentucky team by 6 or 8 points. I can't remember the exact amount, but they did play well the last time this game was played in the middle of the week. A lot of people didn't like it the last time it was like that, but I actually did like it. But then again, that was because the game was at home, so I got to be there. But I am ready to see if this is going to be a constant change or if this is just going to be every couple of years that they're going to change this to just a midweek game. But either way, I'm down for it. I just want to see the game, to be 100% honest with you. Louisville won it last year. The year before, missed free throws down the stretch to lose the game in overtime. So I'm just ready to see the game. I know I just said that, but to be honest with you, that's all I care about. As long as the game's being played, I don't care if it's being played on a aircraft carrier out in the middle of the ocean. It doesn't matter. As long as we're able to watch it and as long as we're able to play it, that's all I care about. Looking at the ACC slate, you have home and homes with NC State, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Virginia, Pittsburgh, Notre Dame. This season is going to be a little bit different. You're not going to have David Johnson. You're not going to have Carlik Jones, but you are going to have more guard depth. Losses from the team last season, you lose Carlik and David, as I just mentioned. You also lose Charles Minlin, who graduated, who we really never got to see at all. He only played in spurts because he was injured the entire season. You also had 3 guys transfer, Quinn Zielinski, Josh Nickelberry, and Aiden Nagahan. Zielinski transferred to Iona to play for Coach Rick Pitino. Nickelberry transferred to LaSalle, and Aiden Nagahan transferred to Grand Canyon. Now, usually you look at those and you think, okay, I need to kind of see where this guy is going off of the transfer to kind of see, is this somebody that we really feel like we're losing, or is it someone that's just seeking out more playing time and maybe this just wasn't the best fit for them because of that? And it looks like, to me, all 3 of these guys all left because they wanted more playing time or whatever. I don't know. I haven't really dug into it as much as I probably should have. But I think with the players that we have brought in, or that Louisville has brought in, I think that will help out immensely. Because at first you see guys like Zielinski, who played a lot last year, Nickelberry, who couldn't stay healthy, and Nagahan, who we had big hopes for coming in, never really lived up to the hype. And now he goes to Grand Canyon. I'm anxious to see how he's going to play with guys that are very similar to his, I guess you would say, skill set. Because I don't want to say the kid's terrible by any means, but it obviously didn't work out here. I heard a lot of things on the reasoning why it didn't, but it just didn't. But some of I'll just go through the newcomers for this season. You have a transfer from Florida, Noah Locke, who will come in as a senior. Mike James is a freshman out of Orlando. L. Ellis is a junior college transfer, number 1 junior college transfer in the nation. Roosevelt Wheeler, 6'10" center from Richmond, Virginia. You have Mason Faulkner, who some of you all may know who he is. He went to Governa High School here in Glasgow, transferred in from he actually was a grad transfer, originally committed to Colorado. I heard him speaking today in a press conference about his ankle injury, and he said that time being out really made him think about, what's it going to be like outside of basketball, and that made him eventually want to transfer from Colorado and come back to the Cardinals. So he will come in for a grad transfer a year. Jared West, I'm not exactly positive how to say it. I heard it said a couple of different ways. Transfers in from Marshall. Sidney Curry, who was originally committed to Kansas, former teammate of former Beef's Beef. Actually, I'm sorry, he didn't actually play with him. He former Louisville commit Jay Scrubb, who played at John A. Logan, which is where David Sloan played, joins the team late. Matt Cross transferred in the middle of the season last year from Miami. So I'm anxious to see how that goes. And I don't know. I'm really excited about this team. And I'm ready to see exactly what comes and all that stuff. So not only has this team added more players, but they've also added another coach. Um, I mentioned before that they promoted an assistant and they moved Mike Pegues to the coach that's going to take care of the team as Mac is gone. Now, now the coach that they did promote was Cahill Fennell. Um, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. You guys did meet with the interview that I did last with Ross McMains, the coach that they did hire. Mac has mentioned he brought him in to help push the pace on offense, to help give him some more insight on the newer offenses that a lot of teams are running in the NBA, in professional teams overseas, everything like that. Give a fresher look at it. From the sound of it in the Mason Faulkner press conference today, it sounded a lot like what you would hear in a football team with a coordinator almost. It sounds like Mac is almost in charge of just the defense, and of course he's going to have final say over everything that happens with the basketball team. But it sounds like he's going to have a more just a say over the defense, and McMains is going to have pretty much free reign with the offense, and got me excited with that. With everything that I've read, everything that I've heard about Ross McMains, I'm super excited about what he's going to do with the offense. It's a young, fresh mind in the game of basketball. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, because I had him on the podcast. Literally, there's guys like Jeff Van Gundy speaking high about him. Coach Mack has spoken highly about him. Everything that you read, winning championships in professional leagues in New Zealand, with him leading the way as the offensive quote unquote coordinator, I'm excited. I'm ready to get back to the up-tempo offense. I'm just ready to see that. I feel like I hate to be like that, but I kind of feel like that's what Louisville basketball is an up-tempo team. So this season, I expect the team to have a lot of depth. Your big men, obviously you have Malik Williams back. You have Roosevelt Wheeler, Sidney Perry, JJ Trainer will all be in your front line, as well as Gabe Wisnitzer and Jalen Withers. And then I might have mentioned Jalen Withers twice. I'm not sure. And then a lot of wings and guards, Jared West, L. Ellis, Samuel Williamson, Mike James, Noah Locke, Dre Davis. Dre Davis, I'm expecting to have a big year. He's going to have to fit in this rotation with a lot of veteran guys. I know he came on well last season as a freshman and surprised a lot of people. I forgot to mention Matt Cross as well. I'm really excited for this team. I know this team is going to be. It's not really being respected at all. Guys like Andy Katz putting out his early season bracketology doesn't even have Louisville in the tournament. Hasn't put them in the top 36 of his that he does every season as well. Preseason, I think this team's getting disrespected, and I think that Coach Mack is the type of coach that feeds off that. I mean, I guess every coach is, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to be able to get your team motivated in different ways as a coach in college, high school, anywhere. But I feel like Mack as a coach in general has that chip on his shoulder. And I think that them not being ranked preseason and not really being talked about is going to be big for him. He seems like a guy that can push that narrative of, okay, they don't want to talk about us, then let's make them talk about us. And with this team, I think you have a mixture of younger guys that are going to play a decent amount, as well as a lot of older guys. But I mean, your older guys are going to be in your bigger key areas where, even though they're new to the system, they're still older guys. This past weekend as well, I was out of town. You can see the poster up there, Return of the Rat. I got an autograph poster from my guy Theo Vaughn. Fantastic show up in Cincinnati. But while I was gone, Louisville hosted Louisville Live. There were around 20 or so visitors combined from the men's and women's side of basketball. Some of the bigger visitors that Louisville had, Rodney Rice. I've mentioned him before on the last solo podcast that I did. He's out of DeMatha in Maryland. Everywhere that I read is saying that he's down to Louisville and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech did hire his high school coach. Smart move on their side. I think that's helping them a little bit more. Everything that I've read is that the longer this goes on, it favors Virginia Tech. So if there's a decision soon, it's going to favor the Cardinals. Actually, honestly, everywhere that I've seen stuff about his visit, eyes were big. It's crazy. Fans were chanting his name at Louisville Live. Those of you that have heard me speak about Louisville Live in the past, it's fantastic. I didn't get to go to this one, which was actually at Churchill Downs instead of 4th Street Live, which has been in the past. And everything that I've read and heard and listened is just that it was fantastic. They had it in the paddock there. The pictures that I've seen, it kind of looked like a scene from Lion King. It was crazy. He tweeted out and talked about how the fans were chanting his name, and in the past, that's gotten us guys like Aiden Agahan and stuff like that, who's visited for Louisville Live. And I don't know. I did the funniest thing from it though was they give them the cards and stuff that have like pictures and stuff that was like Rodney Rice, and it's like pictures of them in the jersey and stuff like swag and stuff like that. Well, obviously it's down to Louisville and Virginia Tech, and it had a card and it said the recent meetings between between Louisville and Virginia Tech, and Louisville's won the last 17 games against them. Nice little flex, if you ask me, to just see a card with, a record of 17-0 in the last 17 games against them. And I mean, what can you really say if you're Virginia Tech? I was reading some of their message boards, and I don't know. Of course, you're going to have fans saying certain things either way, but I don't know. I hope we can get Rodney Rice. I know it's down to Louisville and Virginia Tech, but at the end of the day, there's other guys in hand or in the mix that we can go after if we don't get Rodney Rice. Another guy is a local guy from 2023, Caleb Glenn. You've heard me speak about him. I've seen him play 2 to 3 times as a freshman. Fantastic player out of Louisville Male. This is a guy I feel like Louisville has to get. When you have guys like this, it's been a long time. I guess you would go back to, guys like Snyder, and Snyder is probably the biggest one from the city. I know I'm missing somebody, and I feel like an idiot, but my mind's going blank just because I'm thinking about it. This is a guy you have to lock up. Caleb Glenn out of Louisville Male is a tweener guy. Kind of reminds me of a higher skilled Dwayne Sutton. I won't even say better shooter, because Dwayne Sutton turned himself into a fantastic shooter when he was here. But like I said, everything that I've read is Louisville's the leader. And I'm not really going to change what I hear on that. I think Louisville ends up getting Caleb Glenn. Another as a 4-star kid out of California, Dusty Stromer. I don't know much about Dusty Stromer. I just know that we got him and his teammate to visit. You also had George Washington out of Christian Academy of Louisville, who also had rave reviews about Louisville Live. You also had a kid from 2024, Manuel. I'm excited for what the future holds as far as Louisville recruiting goes in basketball, especially with Ross McMains being here. I think that's going to do nothing but help the recruiting causes because now our kids are going to want to come here and play that up-tempo offense again. And once you get through this 6-game stuff and the NCAA stuff is gone, which hopefully is sooner rather than later, and you can just get this up. I think Louisville's going to start picking back up in recruiting. I think the fans are going to be most of the fans are on board with Mac, because I think at the end of the day, the changes that Mac has made have been what the fans have been asking for. So I think he knows what it takes to win here, or what he has to do to be successful here and to be liked and loved by the fans. I'm still on the Chris Mack board, or I'm not going to say bandwagon, but I'm still on board with Chris Mack. And I think that you would be dumb not to be currently. Um, there's been so much stuff that's been hanging over his head since he's been here that it's been tough to do things. You had a COVID year, cut his best team short. And I would say that that team was one of probably 6 to 8 teams that was a championship contender. Obviously, there's favorites going into the tournament, but I wouldn't say that they weren't one of those 6 to 8 teams that could have possibly squeaked out a championship. Um, so moving forward, I think it base it off of what you see on the court. Um, it was awesome to also see Montrez back in the building. Um, he was back in the building for the fantastic game along with Maria Taylor and Angel McCautry that was UCF on Friday night. The only thing I will say that sucks about the game being on last Friday was the fact that I missed the male Trinity game, which most of you will be like, why does that matter? You didn't go to either one of those. But I would call myself a pseudo male fan because my dad went to male, because my high school didn't have a football team. So I've just always followed male high school football because of my dad. My dad graduated from male. So that's kind of like my second favorite team, or actually my second favorite team. I still keep up with more because I coach there, but you get what I'm saying. But that would be the only thing that I say would suck about that game being on Friday. It was awesome. I left work early, met up with a buddy, Swanks. Hopefully he listens to this. We went down to the alley. If you haven't checked out the alley yet, go give it a chance. It is fantastic. They had live music, cornhole boards, his and hers, porta pots, food, drinks, anything you can think of. They were there. They were recording the pregame show. Or they were doing the radio broadcast from down there with Mark Ennis and Mark Blankenbaker, which was awesome. The only thing that I would say on that is I wish there was a way that you could listen to it, which would be kind of tough though with the live music, but still it would be awesome if you could hear the radio broadcast as you're sitting there, because otherwise you're just sitting there staring at two guys talking to themselves and you can't sit close enough to hear them anyway. But it's neither here nor there. But it was the crowd was not as big as I expected it to be. Going into the game, you had UCF coming in as a 6.5-point favorite, which, they say the home field gives you 3 points. That's 9.5 points on a neutral field, which is not good. Not where you wanted it to be. Louisville's coming off 2 lackluster performances, one getting blown out by Ole Miss in week 1 in Atlanta, and 2 winning 30-3, should have been 37-3, which you have the Amari Huggins-Bruce touchdown fiasco where he fumbled the ball before, but it's whatever. Unless you had a bad beat on that, then I feel bad for you, because Louisville was 30-point favorites and only won by 27 because of a touchdown being taken away. But you go into this game with really nothing to feel fantastic about. Granted, you won 30-3, but there was definitely lapses in that game where it was like, what the heck is going on? The offense was still vanilla. The play calling was still vanilla going into it. Ole Miss, I know you scored 24 points in the second half, but if you go back and look at it, it was really more of what Ole Miss stopped doing than what it really was Louisville doing. Ole Miss really just knew that they had the game won, and they took their foot off the gas and just kind of let Louisville do whatever they wanted to. And still in spurts, Ole Miss would still do what they wanted to do when they wanted to. So like I said, you had a UCF team coming in 6.5-point favorites, averaging 622 yards of offense. And you have one of I would say the second best quarterback now that Djokovic is hurt for Boston College. And I still don't know if I would have put Djokovic over him anyway. Second best quarterback we have playing, or that Louisville will play this year, with the way that the kid from Clemson is playing. I will say he's definitely at least the second, or at least the third, but I would say the second. Best quarterback that Louisville's going to play behind Matt Corral of Ole Miss. Gabriel came into the game playing fantastic, and he didn't waste any time in this game either. Comes in, Louisville goes 4 and out. They went for it on fourth down, did not get it. A lot of people hated it. Hated the decision to go for it. I didn't hate the decision to go for it. I just hated the fact that they did not get it. UCF one play, or first play, they rush it, don't get anywhere. Second play, 41-yard touchdown. And as a Louisville fan, you're like, here we go. I honestly thought after that point, like going into the game, I do a weekly game pick with my buddy John. Shout out John. I need to get him on here again soon. I know he'll listen to this and be like, well, why didn't you just ask me? I have to get him on again here soon. We do a weekly pick 'em where, we just pick games and it's just for fun, just like a pride thing. And he said, you really think Louisville's going to beat UCF or what? I said, yeah, I picked it. And I think I was the only one out of us three that picked Louisville to beat UCF. And I was right. But after that first touchdown, it was not something that I felt great about. They scored with relative ease in 2 plays. And then Louisville ended up punting again and then getting a stop and scoring at the end of the first quarter. So it was 7-7 after the end of the first quarter, 21-14 at halftime. And at that point, you're starting to feel a little bit good about the game. You're like, all right, you go into halftime up 21-14, knowing that UCF gets the ball to start the second half, knowing that even if they score to start the second half, you're getting the ball back with the game at least tied, unless they do something random like a weird onside kick that kind of surprise you or you fumble or something like that. So, of course, they come out and score within the first 5 minutes of the second half, and then it goes boom, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it just battles throughout the entire game. Game's tied at 35, or it's 35-28. UCF drives down the field, scores a touchdown. They get a touchdown with 1:21 left, leaves 1:21 with 2 timeouts left on the clock. And Louisville starts driving. So Louisville's driving down the field, and Malik Cunningham rolls out, throws a pass, gets intercepted. The entire place is completely silent. And I'm sorry for giving you a walkthrough of the game. I'm sure you've already seen the highlights, but I just want to give you kind of a perspective from someone that was at the game. Place was completely silent. All the Louisville fans were silent. The UCF fans were definitely loud in their section that they were in and obnoxious. Told a few people they were definitely moved up my list to top 5 of most hated fans that I do not like. I think I don't really have to give you an answer for my first one, even though I have some of my best friends that are fans of them. But they're definitely in my top 5. I would say probably 3. Alabama was pretty bad. I did not like Alabama fans at all. Whenever I met them in Orlando, I wasn't a big fan of Auburn fans, but I would put UCF in front of Auburn. So I would say the team that shall remain nameless, then Alabama, UCF, then Auburn. And I don't know who I would go 5th. I can't really think of who I would go 5th that I can think of. Actually, no, Michigan fans. And you'd be like, what? Michigan fans are terrible. So the next play, Dylan Gabriel rolls out, throws an interception to Jalen Alderman, the freshman, playing his first play of the game. Has only played in a few plays the entire season, runs it back 66 yards to the house, scores a touchdown, and the place is absolutely bananas. If you haven't seen the Paul Rogers call of it, I shared it on Facebook the night that it happened. I actually heard the UCF call of it today. Hearing the differences in that is fantastic. And just hearing the overall, just the crowd noise does not do its service. Listening or watching those videos. One of the best games that I've been to in Cardinal Stadium. I won't go through my list, but it definitely is up there as one of the best games. I was glad that, a lot of my buddies got to go to the game with me. And if you could have just seen us, man, it was insane. Our faces whenever it happened. Joey, who's a Kentucky fan, was at the game as well as Smitty. And we get that pick and run it back 66 yards. I look at Joey and he looks like he's just like he's blown away. Like everybody's just like, I'm high-fiving people I don't know. It was great, man. It felt like the Florida State game in 2016 when Lamar ran all over Florida State. Just all of that compressed in about 10 seconds instead of the entire game. Uh, again, or I won't. I don't know why I said again, but moving forward this season, I told. Speaking of John, I told John and I told Tony, who also is a former guest of here, and my buddy Ray as well, who's also a former guest. Um, that was the show me game. That was the game where I said, you know, you gotta have this is make or break it. And I hate to be that guy because normally I feel like you give a guy 3 or 4 years to do something like that. But I feel like his lease was shortened when he made that move to try to go look at South Carolina. Um, I hate to be like that, but because I feel like that's something that as a guy from a small town in Boone, it's probably just something he just didn't know how to handle, which really is an excuse when you're at this level. But I feel like that shortened his leash. You got to win now. You got to get regardless. I loved how Malik played the other day. I hope the offense moves more in that direction where we let him run the ball more instead of just making it just strictly a read option type thing to where you're kind of putting a leash on it and outside zone stuff and getting him out of the pocket more. I don't know. I felt like that was how the offense should go moving forward. And one last thing though, I will say, it sucks for Dylan Gabriel because Dylan Gabriel played a fantastic game. That was the only blemish he had in his entire game, I would say. But it sucks that the last play of the game, they were trying the lateral stuff and everything, and apparently Dylan Gabriel broke his clavicle and is out for the rest of the season. So that sucks. So we'll see where they go moving forward with as far as their quarterback. I've heard that there is freshman Mikey Keene or Joey Gatewood, the former Kentucky quarterback. So moving forward for the rest of the season, Louisville goes to Florida State this weekend. They are 2.5 point favorites. I'll go ahead and give you my predictions for the rest of the season. I'm sure you guys will disagree with me on a lot of these, but whenever I was doing this prediction, I took into account how teams have been playing. I'll say the games right now that I think could go either way. I think the only game I don't think can go either way is Clemson. I still think Louisville loses to Clemson. I think there's too many 5-star guys, even though it is in Cardinal Stadium. I could be wrong, but I'm still going to count that one as a loss. I think the games that could go either way, honestly, every other game other than that one, other than Duke and Syracuse. So the 3 games that I would say I don't think could go either way: Duke, Syracuse, and Clemson. I think Louisville wins the Syracuse and Duke games very, very easy, and I think they lose the Clemson game. Now, every other game other than that, I could see a win or loss either way, but I'll give my prediction here because I didn't do a preseason prediction podcast like I said I was going to, and I apologize for that. So I think Louisville goes on the road to Tallahassee and wins the game this weekend in Florida State. And then they also go to Wake Forest the week after that and win. The week after that, they play Virginia at home. The Virginia game is going to be a tough game. This Virginia team has a pretty good offense. I watched them play pretty well, or I didn't watch it, but I kept up with the score against North Carolina. They put up 31 on North Carolina, which really doesn't say much because North Carolina has lost to Virginia Tech and hasn't really looked like the top 10 team that we thought they were going to be so far. But their offense is obviously somewhat decent because they put up 31 points in a game against another Power 5 team, the ACC, that was projected to be a top 10 team. You have Boston College as well as at home as well. That should be the Hall of Fame weekend when Doomerville and Harry Douglas and some other people, Logan Johnson, are getting inducted into the U of L Hall of Fame. So you know that the teams will be hyped in that. I think Louisville goes into the game at NC State I will give Louisville the win in Boston College. If Boston College hadn't lost their quarterback, I would definitely think about that game more. But with them losing their starting quarterback, I'm not really worried about that team now. Again, this is if the team continues to base it, or this is based off of Louisville's offensive output uh, going or coming out of UCF. I liked what they did on the offensive side of the ball. Um, got more receivers involved. Marshawn Ford finally caught some passes, which apparently we heard before this game that he had been battling sickness the first couple of weeks, and that was kind of why he wasn't playing well. He still needs to work on blocking. I think he whiffs a little bit too much on those things. That's something he obviously needs to work on. But I think Louisville goes to NC State, takes an L. NC State has played pretty well outside of their game against Mississippi State, which they lost. And then the next week after that is Clemson. Then they have Syracuse at home. Like I said, the next two games are where I said they should be games that Louisville doesn't have a problem in. Syracuse and Duke. They go to Duke. Don't really think they have a problem in that game. And they get 2 wins, which sets up a game against the University of Kentucky. At this point, Louisville would be 8-3, 6-2 in the ACC, which in all accounts is a fantastic season. Projected 7th in their division. Right now, that would put them in second or third, depending on what NC State does outside of Louisville, if these projections obviously uphold, which again, I could definitely be wrong. This is just a prediction that I'm making. But you have Kentucky coming in for the Governor's Cup game to Cardinal Stadium. My hope is that it's a night game, selfishly, which I love night football. So I'm just saying I hope it's a night game, 1, because I love night football. 2, it's a rivalry game, and there's nothing better than sitting all day and thinking about that game. Actually, I can think of 1,000 things better. I get nervous even though I'm not even playing the game, but I sit there all day and think about it. And 3, my boy lives right by the stadium. We can go over there, tailgate, chill it at his house, have a bathroom, all that stuff, and then go over to the stadium, which to me sounds fantastic. I can't wait for the game. My prediction is a Louisville win. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think Kentucky definitely showed flaws this week, which every team can have an off week. Obviously, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that they're not a good team. Kentucky's definitely improved. I went and watched their game a few weeks ago against Louisiana Monroe at Kroger Field. There were some things that I took away from it. Like I said, their quarterback play is definitely better. Wan'Dale Robinson's a problem. Chris Rodriguez is a problem. I think their offensive line is a little bit worse than what it has been. I'm not saying that it's bad. I think it's a little bit worse than what it has been. I think their secondary is also a little bit worse. I think their defensive line is definitely very good. Their linebackers are very good. And I think Louisville can pull out the victory. That would put Louisville's final record at my projection, 9-3, 6-2 in the ACC, which would be fantastic. I think that could get you a higher tier bowl. I can't project what bowl I would obviously say that is, but coming off of what you had at the beginning of the season with Ole Miss and how you saw that game, not a lot of people would project that, but I think with the way this UCF game ended, that a lot of people would be happy with the way the season would end if it lived up to what I said. So let me know what you guys think about that prediction. Hopefully, I think I'm going to start doing more solo episodes again. Doing this again, I don't know. It's like I just it's like riding a bike. I started talking and it just kept going. I don't even know how long it's going for, but hopefully, if I start doing this weekly again, you guys will actually start sending me questions, because I put out that post about sending me questions and it was like crickets were everywhere. There was nothing. So I'm going to have to start, doing this again, and maybe I'll just start getting buddies on again, and then I'll start just sprinkling in interviews. Let me know what you guys think of that. If you guys want to hear that stuff, I'm going to do, I know I say this every year, but I am going to do an NBA preview. I've already spoken with one person. I may get a couple other I just wonder how it's going to be like a round table type thing on here, doing that. So let me guys know what you guys thought about the NFL picks with my buddies Hugh and John and my cousin. And let me know what you guys think about this. I'm pumped to be back. Like I said, I'm going to do more solo episodes so that you guys won't miss me as much. But let me know what you guys think. Do me a favor when this is over: like, share, listen, everything, subscribe to everything, YouTube, all that stuff. Beef out.